Hey guys, it's your girl Carrie. Welcome back to my channel. You are looking at what is currently the #1 best-selling dip powder kit available on Amazon. It has almost 6,000 reviews and over 4.5 stars. It's looking pretty good, but when you're somebody like me and you've tried pretty much some of the best at this point, kind of makes you wonder whether that Amazon dip powder kit is going to stand up to what you've already tried that is quality and top-notch. So I'm going to go ahead and break open this bad boy. We're going to test it out. We're going to see if it's really as good as that 4.5 star rating on Amazon. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, then stick around. We're getting into it. Alright, so as you can see on the box here, this kit is created by a brand called AZUREBEAUTY, and they did reach out to me and ask if I wanted to try their dip powder kit. And honestly, I really wanted to try it more for curiosity than anything else, because I have tried some dip powder items off of Amazon before, haven't had the greatest luck. So when I'm like, okay, this is the #1 best-selling kit though, but compared to what? You know what I mean? But I do like to remind you guys that whether a company sends something to me or I purchase it myself, you're always going to get my full and honest opinions. And let me warn you up front, I have some serious opinions on this kit, so make sure you stick around to hear my thoughts. Just a few disclaimers in case you are new here. I am a DIYer. I love all things dip powder and gel polish, and I have been doing them for a while. Definitely gel polish a lot longer than dip powder, but I'm not new to the scene, so you're going to get a DIYer's perspective, but definitely not a complete beginner. But I do think I can definitely offer some advice as to whether or not this kit is good for beginners, because hey, we were all new ones, right? So at the time I'm doing this video, this kit is currently retailing on Amazon for $21.99, and it is supposed to contain everything you need to create a beautiful dip powder manicure. So we're actually going to crack this kit open and see if it really does have everything that we're going to need, and then once we go through all that, we will actually apply the products and see what we think. All right, so taking a look inside this box, and it may have been a little bit rearranged because I did initially pull it out of the box just to make sure everything was there. So I'm not sure it exactly got back in the box the same way it came, but anyway, you get the idea. So the first thing you're gonna see here is a dip powder kit booklet, and then we also have some extra brushes, which is pretty nice because especially for beginners, it's very easy to contaminate your brushes, and you don't often see starter kits include these extra brushes. So that's really nice to have 2 extra brushes already included in this kit. Then we also have this little after service card in here, which on the back has some information in case you have any issues, some customer service contacts. So that's nice to see. And then we've got a little assortment of nail tools here, starting with this orange buffer block and this nail file. This nail file is smaller, but appears to be about a 100-180 grit if I'd guess, and I would say maybe a 180-240 on this buffer block. But you know, those are always nice to have, and these are less flimsy than what I usually see included in kits, so we'll definitely go ahead and use these today since we're going to be using the rest of the products. Then we also have this brush that they intend for you to use to dust off excess powder. Now typically I use a much larger, fluffier brush, which I will have linked for you down in the description box, but this one's nice too. And like I said, because these tools that they've included aren't as cheaply made and as flimsy as some of the others I've seen, we'll go ahead and use that today as well. Then we've also got this French dip tray, which again is not another item that you often see included in starter kits, especially this one because I don't really feel like it has French manicure colors in it. But you can also use these trays for marbling, like to swirl dip powders. And I really love that this one has a lid on it. I'm definitely going to keep this and get some use out of this. Maybe next time we do a marble. I realized the other day I haven't done a dip powder marble video on my channel yet. I don't know where that one is. We need to get that done. But maybe we'll hang on to this and we'll use it for that. And then of course we've got our dip liquids here. So I'm going to pop these out. They are numbered 1 through 4 in the order that you're typically going to use them. So your step 1 is going to be your base. Your step 2 is going to be your activator. Your step 3 is your top coat. And then step 4 is going to be your brush saver, which you may or may not need depending on how quickly you contaminate your brushes. So we'll have to see today how easily these liquids contaminate. So we may or may not need the brush saver, but we'll definitely be using step 1 through 3 here. Now you can see these are some smaller plastic bottles. They do have a regular size dip liquid kit that I can also link for you. So these are much smaller bottles, a lot less product, and definitely those bottles that are easy to kind of tip over because they're that lightweight plastic. So, you know, don't love that, but honestly for a starter kit, I'm not really surprised to see that. And if the liquids are good enough, I think we can kind of work around that if we use our standard products that we use to hold our liquids. So I'll get to that here in a bit. And then of course we have our dip powders. So we actually have 8 dip powders here. We have 7 solids and we have 1 heavy shimmer. And I will show you those here in a bit, the swatches. But this is a neutral assortment that they sent me. And I actually really like that because I feel like a lot of folks when they're first starting out, they may want to start with neutrals before they work into brighter colors. So it's a nice little kit, I think. All right, taking a look at the actual component here, not really much to see here. These are pretty similar to your standard 1/4 ounce dip powder jar that you'll get from most companies. I think it might be a little bit bigger. I'll have to let you know down in the description box whether these are a little bit more than 1/4 ounce. It's pretty similar in size regardless. And then instead of having color names, we do have the number on the top. And these all do come with this plastic sleeve around them, which of course is nice in case there's any kind of problem in transit. Shouldn't have any spillage of your dip powders actually into your kit, so that's good to see. So I went ahead and took the plastic sleeve off of this first powder here just so we could see that on the inside there's actually a second way of protecting the powder from spillage. So there's actually one of these little caps with the plastic pull tab on it so you can actually take it right off. And honestly, like I haven't tried a lot of dip powders off Amazon. Liquids, yes, but dip powders, I've only tried a few. This is the first time I've actually seen that with the plastic lid on the inside of the tub as well. So I love the extra layer protection because nobody loves it when they get their package and dip powder is spilled all into it. So that's pretty cool. And this is just one powder, of course, but on first glance, the powder looks to be pretty fine and pretty decent quality from what I can just see by looking at it. All right, so I went ahead and swatched all the neutral colors in this kit so you can see all 7 of the solids, and then on the far right we have the heavy shimmer. So this is a really nice assortment of colors. I feel like we have different ranges of cool and warm, neutral, and then we have light to dark. So I feel like there's a nice variety in here for somebody who wants to try dip powders. There should at least be 1 or 2 colors in here for everybody, and I think most folks will be able to use almost all of these colors. Now I did want to point out that I did not use the liquids in the kit for all of these swatches, and I wanted to test it out on a couple of them but not on all of them because the bottles are small and I was afraid I wasn't going to have enough to actually try it on my mani. So instead of using the liquids on all of them, I used them on 2 of them, and then I used my standard liquids that I already know and love on the rest of them just to see if we could notice a big difference right away. And I really didn't. I will say the 2 on the right are the ones that I actually did with the liquids in the kit. And at first I kind of felt like maybe they weren't as smooth, but I wasn't quite ready to make a ruling on that yet because I will be the first to admit that I am super sloppy when it comes to making swatches, and I could have just been sloppier on those 2 swatches. I just really don't like to swatch. It's probably my least favorite thing. I think I would rather go get my teeth cleaned at the dentist. Okay, that's maybe a bit dramatic, but I'm saying I hate swatches, so I'm not careful with them. So I'm not ready to make any kind of ruling based on that just yet. But this one that I'm showing you here is the one I did with my standard liquids. So I don't see a huge difference. Just I did notice those 2 that I swatched, they looked a little bit less even, but wait, because the story is going to turn around here in a little bit. All right, so I did want to show you that I did go ahead and pop these bottles into my Liquid Layer Studio holder, and that's just because, like I said, these plastic bottles are pretty lightweight. I don't want to risk tipping them over while we're doing our mani. But taking a look at the actual brush itself, so these bottles are smaller, so I'm not really surprised to see the brush be pretty tiny as well. I would have to get their regular size bottles to see the difference in brush size, but I imagine those brushes are larger, so there's something to be said for that. But at first glance at this base liquid, it does look to be pretty thin, and that's how I like my liquids, so that looks good to me so far. And I like that there's a stopper in there, so you're less likely to get your bottles glued shut. So the odor I would say is moderate. These are definitely not low odor, but I wouldn't say they're the strongest odor I've ever smelled either, and I will give you an update on dip flu for those of you who may be prone to it. I will let you know how I did with these here in a bit. So I wanted to briefly open up the instruction booklet because I wanted to see, because this is a starter kit, I want to see, are these instructions really beginner friendly? So we've got pictures, we've got step-by-step instructions, and nothing on here really stood out to me as being like weird or not ordinary. Everything looks pretty straightforward. I believe it said 30 seconds for the base and the powder to dry, and then 60 seconds for the activator. All that sounded pretty accurate to me, with the exception of after filing and buffing, there's no additional step that says to activate again. And I'm really surprised at that because generally you're going to want to put another layer of activator before you put your top coat on, because the activator is what helps the top coat to dry. So after filing and buffing and cleaning all that off, is there going to be enough activator on there to actually put on the top coat? So I'm going to get back to that here in a little bit, and I'll show you what I did and let you know my final thoughts on that. But I did notice that that second activation was missing from the instruction booklet. All right, we've gone through everything pretty thoroughly here. It's time to actually test these products out. So I wanted to let you know that I do have on jelly tips right now. These are the Painted Desert Medium Stiletto, and that's what I'll be using for my mani today. But you can obviously use these on natural nails. You can use these on gel tips. You can use these on pretty much any kind of nail enhancement. I'm just letting you know that the steps are going to be pretty much the same whether or not you're using your natural nails or the gel tips. So I ended up picking out these three for my mani. I just thought it was a really interesting color combination. I thought everything looked really pretty together, and I wanted to try to get in at least three powders so we could really see as far as consistency wise if they were pretty good across the board. So these are the three that I picked out of my kit, and I think it'll make a really pretty combo. All right, so I'm just gonna get everything set up here to start our mani, and I did want to show you that I have these dips in some cupcake liners, and I start actually by dipping into the jars, but I switched to actually pouring the powder into the liner, which I'll explain why I do that here in a little bit. But of course, when you are dipping, you're going to be starting first with your dip base, and that's what you're going to use to apply the powder. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just checking my peel base, so I do use peel base. I'm just making sure that it's completely dry before we go in with this dip liquid. So I'm just going to start by painting on a thin layer of base, and let me give you my initial impressions on this base coat as we go through. So the brush is very tiny, and that does make it take a little bit more effort to get a nice layer across the entire nail, but that's me being really nitpicky. And like I said, the odor is probably moderate. I wouldn't say it's low odor. I wouldn't say it's a super offensive either. It's just somewhere in the middle. And I am somebody who from time to time does suffer from dip flu, so I took one for the team on this one. I did not wear my respirator, and I was just kind of hoping that I wouldn't have a strong reaction, and I can't guarantee that you won't, but I can tell you that as far as I had, the most minor stuffy nose the next morning, nothing really big at all. So wasn't anything that I feel like I would need to wear my respirator for. Now, what I'm using right now around my cuticle line, if you're new here, this is my cuticle cleanup tool, and I will have that one linked for you down below if you're interested in that. That's the only thing that kit does not include, but you really don't have to have this. You can definitely use an orange stick, or you can also use a toothpick. Those are other options that you might already have at your home. So don't feel like you have to have that in order to go with this kit. It's just something that I do recommend if you're going to keep up with dipping that you do have. All right, so you can see I did go ahead and pour the powder into a liner, and that's just because these medium stiletto nails are just a little bit too long for me to comfortably dip them in the jar without worrying about messing up the liquid or the powder. So that's the only reason why I did that. But of course, like I said, if you have shorties, you can go ahead and just dip directly into the jar. So hopefully you can get a sense there for how quickly that dried. I'm putting this dry time medium to fast. So it's not so fast that you don't have time to work, but it's not so slow that it's annoying and you're sitting around waiting for things to dry. And that right there is super impressive to me, because I feel like the liquids I have tried off Amazon have been either slow drying, or they've been very strong odor, or they've been too thick. And this dip liquid is very comparable to my two favorite current brands that I use, which are Vivid Glam Co. and Virgo and Gem. I would say it's kind of between the two in terms of dry time, but nice and thin, just like both of those. So already we're off to a pretty good start. And whatever I did to the swatches, it did not occur again on this application. So I guess I just was a little sloppy with those particular swatches. But as far as the actual nail application, I'm sure you can see there that everything is going on nice and smoothly. The powder seems nice and finely milled, and the liquid is nice and thin and self-leveled beautifully. So no issues at all so far. All right, so that's two layers of this mid-tone kind of purpley gray, and here's what we're looking like. I think it looks great, and I don't see a lot of lumpiness or bumpiness. I think we're gonna have a really easy time of filing if the rest of the powders go on this smoothly, so pretty happy so far. All right, so while I'm dipping into this peach powder, I did want to go ahead and explain a little bit my skepticism about this kit. So those of you that are not new to dip powders, you let me know if it was the same for you in the comments down below. But for me, when I first got started, I got suckered in by one of those big brands that has all the fancy advertising, and I just kind of got suckered in, and they're the brand that made me try it. But to be honest, it was not smooth sailing, and I really thought it was because I was a beginner and I just wasn't doing something right. But the more I branched out and tried some other brands, particularly small businesses, I found much better quality items and much better quality liquids, and I just got to the point to where I felt like that was the only way to go. I just felt like, honestly, the big brands, you don't see a lot of them on my channel because of the fact that I just haven't seen a lot of great quality products coming from those larger brands. So I guess I got a little bit jaded by the whole experience and kind of got turned off by larger dip powder brands, just thinking that none of them were going to be any good. So here comes this international company with this top rated kit on Amazon. I'm like, we'll see though. So if you can't tell where this is going, I'm basically eating my words at this point because I'm onto the second color. The base is nice and smooth. The powder is very finely milled and going on beautifully. And already I'm just super impressed. This base is definitely right up my alley. It's not super slow drying. It's not gummy. It's not difficult to work with. The odor is not super offensive. It's definitely not a low odor liquid, but it's not bothering me as far as the odor goes. And I'm just really impressed. I just really like these liquids and the powders both so far. The more I am using this liquid and the powder and the more I'm enjoying this process, the more I am seeing why this is the #1 best-selling kit on Amazon. So far, it is totally everything that it is cracked up to be. The hype is real to the point to where I'm like, these solids are so good. I'm like, what other solids do they have? So then I'm going down the rabbit hole on Amazon, looking at all their other dip powders and seeing if I need to get some more because I'm really liking the texture of these powders. And really these liquids so far, I mean, they're just going a little bit too well to believe. But wait, there's more. All right, guys, so I've got 2 layers of both colors on all of these nails, and I am really happy with how this is looking. The opacity is perfect. I don't need additional layers. Everything looks nice and smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and activate these before I get into the shimmer, just so I don't have any contamination there. And the only thing I want to say about the activator is that it works really well, exactly as they instruct. It's a little bit more odor than the base coat, but it kind of made me laugh a little bit because it smells exactly like mothballs. If you know that scent, then you know exactly what I mean. If you smelled mothballs, that is exactly what this activator smells like. I don't know. I've never smelled an activator that smelled like that before. It was kind of funny, but it didn't bother me. Again, dip flu symptoms, almost none the next morning. Just a very minor stuffy nose. Nothing I could feel like I needed to use my respirator with again, but yeah, I was like, wait a minute. I know this smell. And that's exactly what it smells like. It smells like mothballs. All right, so I'm dipping into that shimmer on the middle finger because I wanted to test the one shimmer we had in the kit out. And honestly, I love this shimmer maybe most of all. The solids are great, but the texture on this shimmer is stunning. It's got a really nice heavy shimmer running throughout it, but it's not gritty at all. It's super smooth and the shine is just gorgeous. I really love this one. So I know I still have some more thoughts to go. We haven't gotten to the top coat yet, but I did want to briefly throw a couple pictures up on the screen of some of the other kits they offer because I feel like this is where the best value is. You can definitely buy the powders and the liquids individually, but their starter kits I feel like are the most value for the money. And they have quite a variety of options. So depending on whether you're looking for neutrals or something more colorful or specific tones, I feel like they have a really nice variety, and all of those will come with the same products that are in here with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 items depending on the kit. But otherwise pretty comprehensive, and to have those different colorways I think is a really nice option because there's a little bit of something for everybody. All right, here are the nails after 2 coats of each color on the nails and activation. And I think you can see everything looks nice and even and flat and smooth. We're gonna have very little cleanup to do. So I'm gonna leave a little bit of this on here just because I'm trying to make a comprehensive video here, but it's really hard to file and buff on camera. So mostly what I'm gonna be doing is shape cleanup. So I will just briefly show you how I did that. Mostly I'm going around the edge and cleaning up that sharpness again with that nail file, and I did end up doing a little bit of buffer work on the thumb, but the rest of the nails I really felt like they didn't need any buffing, so I just cleaned up around the edge with the nail file on those. All right, guys, filing and buffing is done. So at this point, I do like to go in with an alcohol wipe and just give them a quick wipe down because there might be some dust left on the nail after filing and buffing, and I definitely don't want that stuck in my top coat. All right, guys, so I'm ready to go in with a top coat, but first I'm going to do the thing that is not included in the instructions. I'm going to go ahead and do a second activation. And again, the reason for that is typically you want that second layer of activation because the activator is what actually helps the top coat dry. And I did test it out on a swatch stick, one with the second activation, one without, and I will say the top coat did still dry without the second activation, but it did seem like it took longer. So I did go ahead and do the second activation, and I did just kind of make sure there was no excess left on the nail before going the top coat. And when I did put on the first layer of top coat, I did very carefully kind of wipe it off on a lint-free wipe before putting it back in the bottle, because I didn't want to contaminate the liquids, but I just felt like it wasn't going to be quite as smooth and dry as nicely if I didn't do that second activation. Alright guys, so I'm going to go ahead and go in with the top coat, and I'm going to do like I usually do with a dip top coat, and that is to do 3 quick strokes on the first layer, and then I'll do a more detailed second layer. And like I said, I did wipe off on the first layer onto a lint-free wipe just to be careful not to contaminate the liquids. But again, the instructions don't state that. So if you watch any of my videos at all on this channel, then you'll know that I am definitely a gel top coat girl. I prefer a gel top coat far more than I like dip top coat. It's just a preference. It's mostly because I'm very hard on my hands, and I just feel like gel top coat is more durable than dip top coat, and I just feel like I get a little bit more shine with gel top coat as well. Having said all that, this dip top coat gets a huge gold star for me. It is definitely in my top 3 favorite dip top coats I've ever used. It's self-leveled so beautifully. It's super shiny and super easy to apply. I'm just totally stunned by how much I like this dip top coat. It also ended up being far more durable than I expected. I'm definitely somebody who doesn't wear gloves when she does dishes, and I cook a lot of home cooked meals with a lot of chopping. Not to mention I'm extremely klutzy and always banging my hands into things, and today I cleaned my house without gloves on, so I only have the tiniest bit of scratching on the pointer finger, and honestly that's kind of unheard of for me. Like by now most dip top coats would have been completely etched up, and this still looks beautiful and shiny, so really seriously impressed with this top coat. Alright, so 2 coats are done, and I went ahead and switched up the lighting and the angle so you could see just how shiny this is and beautiful it is. I'm like, what is even happening right now? How can I like a dip top coat? But I do, guys. This one is really fantastic. Alright guys, nails are done. I need to wrap up my final thoughts, but first we need to go in and rehydrate those cuticles. So I'm going to be using Scales of a Mermaid cuticle oil in I Make Poor Decisions, and this is that one scent that I just feel like everybody has to have. It's one that I didn't think I was going to love as much as I did, but it's definitely like top 3 favorites for me. I just love the scent of this, and it's very light on the wine scent, so it's not like super alcohol-y, but it smells so good, just like sangria. So I think you guys can already tell that I pretty much instantly fell in love with this kit. From the powders to the liquids, everything applied so easily. I feel like it's perfect for beginners. I feel like if you're somebody who's looking for a kit because you want to try it out yourself, or you want to give somebody a gift and you don't want to invest a lot of money up front, you just want to try it out, this is the perfect place to start. And I enjoy these liquids and powders so much that I'm looking at picking up a few more solids and maybe some shimmers, and probably going to get a full size set of the liquids just because I really do think they are a great option, especially if you're somebody who needs some more liquids in a hurry. You need to get it on that prime shipping and get it there ASAP. This is definitely the set that I would recommend if you needed something quick and easy off Amazon. Now, as individuals, I don't think the liquids and powders are really that much different in price than, say, a small business, although you are getting the free Prime shipping if you're a Prime member. So I feel like the kits or the collections are where it's at. The liquids are much cheaper if you buy them as a set instead of individuals, and same with the powders, so definitely something to keep in mind. But like I said, if you're somebody who likes to shop Amazon or you need something in a hurry, this is definitely the brand that I would absolutely 100% recommend. So let me know if you guys have tried this company out at all, whether you've tried their powders or liquids or starter kit, any of it. I would love to hear your experiences. I would love to know if you enjoyed it as much as I did, because wow, I just can't get over how impressed I was, and I was totally skeptical. I was thinking I was going to hate this, and I just can't get over how much I love this, especially that dip top coat. I was not expecting to really love that as much as I did. So I know this video got a little long, guys. Sorry, I had a lot to say, but I'm really thankful for AZUREBEAUTY for sending this kit to me, as I just really enjoyed this entire experience, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what else I can dig up from them and add to my Amazon cart. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, it would help me out so much if you would give me a thumbs up down below. And while you're there, if you have not subscribed already, I hope you will consider subscribing before you go. And don't forget that notification bell. We got new content coming every Tuesday and Friday at 2 p.m. Central. So as always, guys, I thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it with me. I appreciate it so much. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.